What's the sad reality of being an adult that young people should know? No one else has time to look out for you. They're busy looking out for themselves. So, save money, eat healthy, get enough sleep. No one else is going to make sure you're doing those things. When you find someone who genuinely cares about you and helps to take care of you, make sure you take care of them back. And do your best not to let them go. And you're going to meet people that you care about who are simply not going to take care of you back. They'll say they will, but they won't. You have to cut them loose. And this never gets any easier. One day your parents will need your help from getting older and they likely won't tell you. One day you show up for a visit and it hits like a ton of bricks that they need help. Visiting my wife's parents versus my parents is a radically different experience. Visiting her parents usually means home-cooked meals and a family trip somewhere. Visiting my parents usually means we're bringing food for them and packing all the tools so we can help fix something that's been left in a state of disrepair. Holy shit, this gave me a bit of a ding moment. Visiting my fiance's family means drinking a few beers and shooting the shit and eating some good food and whatnot. Visiting my mom means playing therapist for a few hours and counting down the minutes until we can reasonably leave and being mentally exhausted afterwards. Fuck, I'd never really compared the two experiences until now. Does your mom try to give you various different pieces of junk every single time you leave? Do you have any use for a? Do you need dish rags? Have you ever tried chickpea pasta? Are any of these cables of use to you? Ha, no mom, I don't need your Nokia phone charger. Please stop hoarding it in the junk drawer and throw it away. When my grandma tries to give me stuff like that, stuff I know that neither of us need to have, I thank her and take it. Because I know that if I don't take it, she'll keep it forever and I don't want her to have that burden. I throw it away as soon as I get home. There are actual consequences for just doing whatever you want. I have been trying so hard to make my 10-year-old understand that I don't want to spend my weekends doing laundry and yard work, that I would much rather be reading and eating cherry turnovers. A 10-year-old can certainly be taught to do the laundry. Whether you saddle a child with yard work, perhaps as paid work to help teach money management, is a separate issue, but they should certainly have basic chores like laundry and vacuuming as functioning members of the household. Start now, or it'll be 3 times harder when they're 16. I went to high school with 3 brothers who were roughly 2 years apart each, the oldest being a senior when I was a junior, the middle being in my grade, and the youngest being 2 years younger than me. These guys' mom did their laundry for literally all the time. 14 to 18-year-old kids and their mom would pick out their daily outfits, wake them up for school, because they never set alarm clocks for themselves, and make sure they got to where they needed to be in general even though they could drive on their own but just refused to be on time to anything. I actually worked with all 3 of them at the local restaurant and their mom worked there as well. She complained all the time about how much she did for them and they talked so much shit about her right in front of her. There was definitely a power struggle in that household. Literally heard one of them tell their mom to fuck off in the middle of a rush and it put her in tears. Learn to control your kids now. Teach them how to do their own chores while they're young, otherwise you'll find out later on how much they could take advantage of you. As an adult you'll find yourself wanting to be alone, yet you'll realize you don't want to be lonely. That was something I wrestled with when I met my fiancé. For years I've lived alone and enjoyed having my time be my own, yet always wanted someone to share it with. Now that someone will be living with me, possibly for the rest of my life, I was wondering to myself how I'm going to deal with that. But the more I fall in love with her, the more I'm excited to put the old bachelor life behind me and start this new chapter. When you can do that, you know you found the right person. You don't have much free time and no one will take care of you. I am in this comment and I don't like it. Eating all the snacks is not a good idea. Me at 23, I can eat a half gallon of cherry cordial ice cream for breakfast, nobody can stop me. Me still at 23 but 2 hours later on a toilet. Oh, that's what's stopping me. Me at 31 on the toilet the next evening, it's still what's stopping me. Holy shit, 8 years in one day. Being on the toilet after a half gallon of ice cream will do that to ya. If you don't put yourself out there you won't have friends. I spent my early 20s thinking I was this artful outsider who didn't have anything in common with my co-workers or peers. I was extremely judgmental about everyone and in turn was really isolated, spending a lot of time by myself at home talking on message boards with other people who I felt like related to me. I can't explain what happened, but I had a break somewhere around 26 or 27 where I was like, I'm actually just a narrow-minded, secluded, stuck-up asshole who goes online to talk to other people who are just like me to seek validation. In reality I'm surrounded by people who may not share my worldview, but aren't really terrible people and they deserve kindness way more than I do. It's been 10 years since that revelation and I've spent them building relationships with different people, especially at work. You know, helps work go by a lot faster. Having friends there you can talk to about whatever. I was exactly the same, and had my realization only a couple years later than you too. I actually care about having friends now even if they aren't 100% like me or share any common interests. After spending almost all of my 20s alone, I got depressed and thought to myself, do I really want to spend my 30s the same way? It's still hard though, everyone's always too busy. TV series always portray friends hanging out all the time as though their schedules always sync. In reality, you barely get to hang out together or even talk in group chats because everyone's busy with work and the ups and downs of adulthood. And just when you hit a good rhythm of hanging out with a good friend, one of you will have some life-changing event happen, has to move far away, has a kid, etc. And the whole thing gets disrupted. My friend and I would just decide on a whim to drive somewhere and go out on adventures all the time. Then he got his girlfriend pregnant, and we just can't do that anymore. I silently start to say my goodbyes to friends as soon as I hear, we're pregnant. I'm happy for them, but I know that our friendship as we know it is over. It's not to say we aren't going to stay friends, but I also know there's no going back to those days again. I keep the goodbyes to myself and as an inner dialogue because I don't really want to make them feel uncomfortable or hear them fruitlessly try to convince me that we'll still be the same. It's like, no you won't, dude, chick. That kid is your life now, and it's okay. Let's just not try to hold on to something that we both know is wrapping up. Childhood is heavily structured, sort of like having bumpers on a bowling lane. For the most part, you know where you're supposed to be, and where you're going next. This is true both on a daily basis and a long-term basis. Every day, your parents arrange for your breakfast, then you go to school, you go to an extracurricular, you come home, your parents arrange for your dinner, you do homework, you play, you go to bed. Each year, you have midterms, then finals, then you move to the next grade. You go from elementary school to middle school to high school to college or tech school, then to a job. It's possible to go off the rails as a kid, but it's fairly difficult. The system will exert immense force to keep you on track and rolling along to the end, even if you fuck up significantly. There is always somebody to pick you back up and chuck you back down the bowling lane, even if you start rolling backwards. If you skip school and get caught, the police might even haul you in as a truant. The system is that serious about keeping you moving along the path. Then you graduate, the bumpers come off, the lane disappear, and you're a bowling ball sitting in an empty field. There's no more track, there is no system pushing you along, there's not even any pins, no obvious goal or objective. If you fuck up or slack off as an adult, you might literally become homeless and sleep under a bridge. You might literally not eat. You could actually die. That force that propels kids from grade to grade, promoting them up through the system, does not exist at all in the adult world. There is nothing propelling you into a job, promotions, or raises. There is nothing propelling you into renting an apartment, finding a spouse, or into owning a house. You have to fight and scrap and challenge for everything from money to recognition to social interaction. Everything. The freedom that comes along with this is wonderful, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It is the way it needs to be. But many people wipe out in early adulthood because they think that the magic force propelling them forward will stick around forever. Far too many people think that they're just going to be handed a job, promotions, and a house, for the simple reason that they were handed everything else they needed up until that point. But that's not how adulting works. To add to this, once that single-track path disappears, you can't continue to compare yourself and your progress to people in your age group. Milestones don't come at the same time for anyone anymore, even for things like graduating college, if you even decide to go to college. Don't waste energy feeling behind if it takes you longer to finish school, to find a career you enjoy, start a family, or whatever it is you want. Focus on working hard to meet your own goals and you'll get there in your own time. Thanks.